Hey, what's up guys, it's Johnny. Have you ever watched one of those HGTV shows where somebody's bought a rundown property, put some money into it, and then flipped it for six figures? And you thought to yourself, man, I really wish I could do that, but I don't really even know where to start. Well, I can tell you the first place to start is understanding the numbers. And that's what today's video is all about. Now, before you go out and try to get a TV deal flipping houses like Tarico Musa or Pace Morby, it's a couple things that you should know. First thing that you need to know is that this actually doesn't take any of your own money to do this, but it does take somebody's, and usually that money comes from two places. Before I give you a rundown on what all that looks like, I want to shamelessly ask you for a like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I want to thank you in advance. Now, the first place you're going to get the capital for a flip is going to be the bank. They're going to fund or cover a portion of the purchase and the rehab costs. And the other portion is going to need to come from some sort of private money investor. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They think, man, I don't know anybody who would lend me the money to do a real estate transaction. But actually, you don't need to know anybody to personally flip a property or raise money for a flip. All you need to do is find a private money lender, and I'm going to show you how you can do that in this video. Now, keep in mind, private money lender is only going to lend money if the numbers in the deal work and if it's profitable. And you might say, well, why would anybody lend money to a stranger? Well, because with people with money, they want to make more money. In a real estate transaction, they're completely protected because they're able to have equitable rights to the property by putting a lien on the property, which just means if you ever sell the property, they get their money back. The flip calculator I'm going to share with you today is what you're going to need to provide that private money lender, and you're going to need to make sure that it's filled out accurately. And you can get a copy of this calculator by clicking the second link in the description below. And here's a pro tip on how you can find a private money lender that will gladly fund a flip for you. First, you're going to want to go on Facebook and just search for real estate investment groups. Go ahead and join those groups and just have them on standby. Once you find a potential deal, then you're going to go back into that group and you're going to post that you're looking for a private money lender and then put details on the profit. These private money lenders are constantly scanning these groups looking for opportunities. Generally speaking, they're going to want a percentage of a return on their money lent, and they might even want a portion of the net revenue from the flip itself. Now, a lot of guys don't like the idea of sharing profits, and I think it's kind of silly, especially when you're first getting started. If you can make money with no money out of your own pocket, that's winning in my opinion. And you can always build your bank account so you can fund your own deals in the future, and then you don't have to split the money with anybody. But just do it step by step. Thinking long term is how good investors make money. They just do it over time. The second way you can use this calculator is to understand how you can wholesale a profitable flip for a fee. What that means is if you find a good deal, whether it's on market or off market, and you run the numbers and it makes sense to flip the property, there are a lot of investors who will actually purchase the rights to flip that property from you. What that means is they'll basically just pay you a fee to find the deal for them. What's great about this is you don't have to wait until the property is completely rehabbed and then sold to get paid. The downside is you're probably going to make less money than the person who's actually flipping the property, but that person's taking a lot more risk than you are. And if you're new to real estate investing, wholesaling your first couple deals is a great way to get a cash infusion and do it relatively quickly. Now, after I go through the flip portion of the calculations, I'm going to show you how you would add your fee in if you were going to wholesale this deal. And just to kind of circle back, understanding the net revenue from a flip is going to be really important because you'll never be able to wholesale a deal to an investor if they're not making any money. So it becomes a lot easier to wholesale to a flip investor when you can show them exactly how much money they're going to make at the end of the transaction. Okay, I'm gonna jump into how to use this calculator correctly. Now here's the thing, fair warning, sometimes this can be a little bit boring because we're gonna be talking about numbers. And when we're learning new skills, sometimes that comes with just some education. And I am committed to making this channel be a place for you to come learn about real estate investing, and market trends. And that means that sometimes we have to do a little bit of studying. So here's what I would challenge you to do. Watch this video, watch how I fill this out, then go find a property online that maybe needs a little bit of rehab and actually go through one or two scenarios and see what would this look like if I were to buy this property? Where would my numbers need to be if I was gonna flip it? And where would those numbers be if I was going to wholesale it? Okay, let's jump into it. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna notice about this sheet is that there are different colored cells. The only cells that you're gonna mess with and start modifying are gonna be the blue cells. And we're gonna start up here on the top left. And what we're gonna do is, first thing we're gonna add is gonna be our property address, right? So I always like to add the property address and then rename the sheet after the address. And that way I can always go back and reference it when I'm trying to figure out like, where did I get this number from? Like I want to save this, right? So I just put a generic name in there, 1234 Main Street. The second thing we need to do is start populating some details around the square footage and calculating rehab costs. So what I like to do is I'm just going to put a random number here. I'm going to say it's 1,300 square feet. And then it says rehab cost per square foot. And what we want to do is scroll down to the bottom here and we want to look at our chart. And this chart works in a couple different ways. It establishes a rehab cost based on the condition of the property. So I do this in a scale of 1 to 10. So you have our 8s and 9s, or I'm sorry, 9s and 10s, our 7s and 8s, our 5s and 6s, and our 4s and below. And what we want to do is let's pretend like this property is a 7 out of 10. And the price per square foot to rehab a property is going to be somewhere between $30 and $40. This is definitely going to vary based on where you are in the country, okay? So let's say this property is a 7 out of 10 and we want to use $30 per square foot for rehab. We're going to go back up here and we're going to say, okay, it's $30 per square foot to rehab it. And you'll notice that it immediately starts populating some of these cells. So as we work our way down, we're going to have to figure out what we need to offer as a purchase price. Let's just pretend like the property's on market for $100,000 and we want to offer 80 grand. Okay, and what that's going to do is it's going to populate more of these cells. So let's go down the list here and see what that looks like. So we have our potential purchase price of $80,000, our rehab cost at $39,000, which is really just taking our square footage times by the rehab cost per square foot, and it just populates that cell. So it gives us a total of $119,000 to acquire this property. On that number, we're going to have to put 15% down. So that number comes to $17,850. Then we need to calculate our closing costs. These are going to be things like loan points, title and escrow fees, and so on and so forth. And this is going to automatically populate. Then we have things like other fees, and you need to kind of calculate for maybe some dumpsters or utilities. So let's continue down this sheet and see how these numbers shake out. So we have our hard money loan at 85%, which is about $101,000. And we have our cash needed to close. You'll notice that number is $24,800. That is going to be basically our 15% down and all these other fees. This is going to be where private money is going to come in and they're going to lend this money at the close of escrow. The bank is going to cover the additional costs. The next thing we need to do is we need to calculate holding costs. Now, holding costs are basically just the cost of the money borrowed. Okay, so we borrow money from the hard money lender. There are going to be some costs associated with that. And we need to know, what does that look like? Because we got to make payments on this. Some hard money lenders will say, don't make the payments to me on the money that's borrowed. Just give it to me when the loan closes at the very end when you sell the property. But we still need to take into account this cost. So let's talk about what this might look like. We have our estimated rehab time, and I'm going to put 3 months in there. We have our hard money rate at around 11%. Okay, now when we talk about hard money, that's generally speaking always going to be interest only. 11% is going to be 11% on the money borrowed. Now it's not 11% per month, it's actually 11% on the money borrowed per year, and then you take that number and you divide it into 12 months, and that's how you come up with your monthly interest only payments, $927 per month. Then we need to add in our monthly tax payments and our insurance payments, because remember, you bought a property, you have to pay taxes, and you're going to have insurance on this property. So when we talk about taxes, and you just want to Google the tax rate for that county, and then you want to use that tax rate and you want to enter your estimated monthly tax payment amount. I'm going to say it's $200 per month. Then we have our insurance costs. Insurance is going to vary depending on the amount of coverage and where you're located in the country. I'll give you an example. If you're in a flood zone, or if you're in a hurricane zone, it's going to be more expensive. What I would do is use an arbitrary number of roughly $150 per month. And that's going to give us a total holding cost over 3 months of $3,832. Next, we have our sales details. And you want to start by calculating the ARV, which is the after repair value. And the way you find that is by finding 3 comparable properties that have sold in the last 90 days. And what I do is I find 3 properties and then I take the average number. Boom. Now we got our number there, okay? So remember, when you sell this property on the open market, what's gonna happen is you're gonna have to pay listing fees. You're gonna have to pay an agent to list the property for you. There's gonna be associated closing costs. And so what we've done is we've gone ahead and we've established fees that are gonna come out of that number when the property is closed. We have a listing fee number of about 5%. It could be a little bit higher, it could be a little bit lower, but we like to use 5%. That will allow a listing agent to charge 2.5% and a buyer's agent to charge 2.5% as well. Then we have our closing costs, and I estimate that to be 2% of the sale price, so that's $5,000. So these two numbers are gonna come out of any net proceeds. Now remember, we still have our hard money loan that we have to pay back, and that was $101,150. So that gives us a gross profit of $134,450. Now, the cash needed to close, remember the money that we had to borrow from the private money lender was $24,800. That's got to be paid back. And we have our holding costs, which is $3,832. So that gives us a net profit of $101,818. Not too shabby. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us a profit margin. Well, let's use some different numbers here. Let's pretend like our estimated purchase price is, I don't know, $200,000. And you see what that does is it immediately changes all the numbers. Our profit margin goes to -9%. The target number here is going to be 12% and above. We need to figure out where we would need to be in order to purchase this property. So let's start messing with this number. Let's say $170,000 is going to be our offer. We're only at 4%. So let's drop this down to $120,000. That gives us 25%. It's a little bit too much, so let's find a happy balance. We know that we probably need to be right around $150,000 on this property. Boom, 12% in the money. Now, this is the money you would make if you were to buy this property at $150,000, put $39,000 into it, borrow money, and then flip it and sell it for $253,000. Now, what if you wanted to wholesale this property? Well, here's what we do. We'd go ahead and we would add in $10,000 as a wholesale fee, okay? And that means in order for these numbers to make sense for an investor, you would need to acquire this property for $140,000. This is your max allowable offer on this. I wanted to go through that as detailed as possible, but also as quick as possible as well. I guarantee that I left something out and there's probably some unanswered questions, but that's what the comment section's for. If you have any questions or comments, throw them down there and answer every single one of them. Don't forget you can download this calculator. The second link in the description down below is going to get you to it. Appreciate you guys stopping by. As always, I want to shamelessly ask you for your support and thank you in advance. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You guys stay safe. God bless.